edit. I'll clean it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you wanted to talk about villains? That's a very specific topic.
Yeah. Well, I thought it'd be cool since we talk games sometimes that like I don't know why the Ganondorf character was sticking out in my mind, and then just like Lucifer and kind of like these guys, and then Bowser also like the guys who like take the ladies, like that seems like a Nintendo thing.
Well, it's a callback. It's a callback to not only like, okay, see, Mario starts with Jumpman, who is trying to get the lady back from Donkey Kong, and that's a callback to King Kong, who grabs the lady. But even that is a callback to the old stories of the inaccessible maiden who is behind some monster. And so like you've got the old dragon stories, stuff like that. But it's that over and over and over again. These are the old dragon myths, and it's just being reapplied.
Okay. Because in the dragon myths, they already have the girl, but then like you see her taken in like Ganon. You saw him take.
Yeah, he always forms a crystal around Zelda and takes her away, and like I think there might be something symbolic in that, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe a crystal is like too much order or something.
Or like using the feminine for the wrong. It's like using the feminine to constrain rather than I don't know. That might.
Oh yeah, the overbearing mother instead of the nurturer. But yeah, there's in the old stories you'll usually hear about she's in the tower and the dragon is guarding the tower and it's like all that stuff. But yeah, there seems to be something different in a guarded keep and somebody being taken. There is there's more of an investment because it's it's someone being stolen away that was once within reach is more, it's more visceral.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And more
it's like if you were standing on a street and you saw a pterodactyl come by and pick up somebody and take them off, you'd be freaked out, but you would like you wouldn't be like, oh, like, oh no, we have to do something, as much as if that person took your wife. It's like you'd be like, okay, I need to do a lot of things right now to get her back.
A lot of things at once. Right.
Yeah.
Now you're doing the first 48.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's an investment. There's a lot more of there's a more investment in people that that are taken away. It's it's like you hear about somebody getting sick, more real world. Somebody gets sick, and you're like, oh well, thoughts and prayers and that kind of thing. Like you hope they get better, but your brother or your sister gets sick, like you want to go to the hospital. So there's layers to it, but yeah, there's the different level of investment to the familiar.
Yeah, something that was yours and is now taken, because if the thing was yours, then obviously it has value, or else why would you have it in the first place? So you're going to get the thing that has positive value, rather than something that who knows what Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's more of a known quantity and safer, and so other people that you don't know um are a gamble to save, if that makes sense. It's why a lot of people like um have trouble approaching strangers about um uh evangelism. It's
Right.
like they'll evangelize to like their friends or their neighbor or somebody that they know, but they've got a real problem with the street evangelism, like, walking up to somebody and like I feel like I need to say something to this person, but I'm gonna let that feeling pass because I'm too afraid to invest in the unfamiliar.
Yeah, 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 and that's part of like why I think like it's like love love your neighbor is so uh important, and it might have something to do with that whole like you know in the case of evangelizing, like, oh, you should evangelize to everyone, be the guy, like the fool, almost like the fool for Christ, like through the streets telling like everyone how just being able to look at a stranger and be like, I love you, God loves you, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Be willing to make mistakes in the right direction is is one way to look at it, because you're gonna screw up. Like, it's just gonna happen. But if you're falling over in the correct direction, it's still forward momentum.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. So I was wondering, how's your book, like writing going?
It's going pretty good. Last night I had one of those uh like the overwhelming urge to just keep going, and so I was up to like
Yeah, all of that.
3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I have to get this full thought out of my head. Like, there's no way I'm gonna stop writing now. Like, I can't sleep. But eventually I had to stop myself, because it's just like, if I don't go to bed now, I'm not getting up in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good to follow those sometimes, those trails, and finding a good place to stop is also in art. I've
Yeah,
been
there's
thinking.
um there's a uh there's a gated fence. So you know the analogy. Well, you work out, so you know the analogy of hitting your wall.
Right, right,
Yeah. So with certain things, especially like more mental things, like there's sometimes you get the strain, and then you get the drain, and then you've got your own wall. But
right,
if you
right.
put up if you put up an artificial wall, then it's more of a gated fence. So it's just like, I can come to this fence anytime
And
that I need to, if I need to take a break, or I can open the latch and hit the wall behind it.
right, right, right. That's good. Good. I actually need to do more wall wall hitting. I mean, I do like there's something with exercise, at least it comes to a point where you just like uh enjoy it, and then
Mhm.
it's easier to get past, and it's just like, oh, the second wind is like
Yeah,
is like right there.
yeah.
But
Some people have some people who have done like kind of the intense workout stuff. I've heard say, like, well, you need to find your second wall. It's like, whoa, second wall. Is this like, so you broke through the first one, and you start turning that first wall into a gated fence. And so it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But that's intense. It's like my wall is like 10 feet in front of me when it comes to exercising.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but the yeah, the writing has been doing really well recently because I've been getting a lot of help. Charlie have read my book over, and then he started seeing things in there that was kind of like that I didn't write. So that was really cool.
Thought Journey, right?
Huh?
Charlie, is it Charlie Thought Journey?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's about to be a pastor. That's gonna be cool. Yeah. So it's interesting because I don't know where that's gonna go for him, but I wish him the best. And he said like I wasn't too sure about it, and then every excuse I gave God kind of took care of it. I was just like, oh, okay, so you're trapped by grace.
Trapped by grace. I like that. That's
man. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, like Moses, like my excuses didn't work, and I said, yeah, just don't strike any rocks, you'll be fine. But yeah, it's getting along. Like I said, I'm getting help with Charlie, and I actually have to send him the next chunk of like I write really strangely, so I write in blocks, like little sections, so I don't really have like full chapters. I have to figure out what a chapter looks like after the fact, and so it's like, okay, these couple of blocks are a chapter, these couple of blocks are a chapter, because
right.
I'm the way that I think is in movie scenes, and so I have to write that scene and then I move on to the next scene.
Yeah. Yes. I think similarly. I think in chunks, definitely.
Because it's easier to grasp the entire concept.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's there's too much flowing at the same time to keep all the threads together.
Right. So it's like you're trying to. Does it ever feel like, oh, I'm trying to? Is it like you're trying to get that one like good shot, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that one good take, and everything will flow from there. It's and similarly to movie making, it will take more than one take. Like I have to go over the same section several times and then go through the continuity, and it's like, wait a second, does that line up? And I have caught myself several times. A couple of weeks ago, I went on a trip to California, and it was a really great trip. I got a lot of work done because being on the road or being away from this desk, like there's a lot less self-imposed distractions, and so like there's a way to kind of release from any particular habits or hangups, and so you're just kind of stuck with you and the work, and the only thing stopping you from working is you. It's like, okay, if I can just get past me, this will be great.
Right.
And I did a lot of work on that trip, and when it came to it, I just lost my train of thought. It's gone.
Okay.
No, yeah, but it shoot. I was going somewhere with that.
You were working in California. Movies, trying to get the one good shot.
The one good shot. Yeah. The one good shot and continuity, and a lot of. Oh yeah. Okay. I had No, wait, it wasn't the trip to California. We went to a funeral up in Michigan. And I didn't have access to my book when we were on the plane back because I had not updated it properly on my tablet. And so I was like, well, great, now I can't do any work. Well, then I thought about it and went, wait, hold on. I've been reading a whole bunch of these books on PDF and going through like word text to speech stuff. And I was like, wait, if I just transfer my book to a text to speech thing, I'll be able to listen to it and catch problems. And so I listened to that. I listened to my own book several times, and I'm sitting there like, how did I not catch all of this crap in the beginning? It was just like there was so many there was so many small errors where I was like, okay, well, I just got to make a note here and make a note there, and I had brought it up to my buddy Colin, and he said, "Did you come across any of the dreaded theirs, or like and like where you double up on a word because like you had a mental skip?" I was like, no, thankfully, but I did catch a lot of really other weird stuff. It's just,
Okay, so
it was crazy.
Okay, so were those like errors in just the way you phrased a sentence, or was it like an idea that was like
Yeah, there's some odd, because I've been working on this book for like almost 10 years, and so my style has changed. It's kind of moved with me, and so you can tell the earlier chapters from the later chapters, which is weird because the earliest chapters are actually in the middle of the book because I wrote a whole bunch before that.
this is this is like thinking about it, some of my favorite stuff about learning about writing and just like it's super.
Oh yeah. Well, and I was actually glad when you say that you wanted to talk about villains, because that's the really weird thing about my book, is that the villain isn't really set. Like there is antagonists or an antagonistic, presence, but there's not really a bad guy. Like I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a crowd because there's a whole lot of moving parts, and the way that I had set everything up, I was like, well, hold on. These guys are bad in context, not in black and white terms. It's just like, well, it's almost like a mercenary kind of villain thing, where it's just like, well, in this situation they're against you, but in this situation they're working with you. That kind of problem that you run into, the gray area, good and bad.
So they're not like it's not like a Bowser or
no,
like,
yeah, it's not. Well, Bowser is actually closer to that, because Bowser is sometimes a good guy. It's weird, but it's more of a Ganon. It's Ganondorf is the analogy we're going for here. It's not a Ganondorf situation. He's not just evil for evil's sake. There's there's a lot of weird layers that will make you think, oh, this guy's the bad guy. Oh wait, no, he's actually kind of nice. Like, well, what's going on here? It's like, well, no, it's this guy. He's the bad. No, wait, no, it's that. No, it's like it would keep you guessing the entire time. But then you hear from the bad guy, or who would think is the bad guy. Oh, this guy's the bad guy. It's like, wait, well, hold on. The bad guy is telling me who the bad guy is. It's just like, what's going on? But it's just not straightforward, because that's kind of how real life is. It's just like there's not really a bad guy. There's people who just don't have your goals, and so you turn them into the bad guy. Your camera just got out. There we go. But yeah, and to the degree where my brother, who is reading, he's like, I needed another reader, because Charlie does really great work, but he's not an editor. My brother will catch things every once in a while, and my brother said, it's like, oh wow, yeah, I can totally see how this guy is like working up to become the bad guy, and I was just like, no. No. Like, and I know exactly who he's talking about, and it's just like, no, he's not the bad guy.
Right.
At all. Like he's honestly like one of the guys that's really trying to get everything right. It's
just problems.
There's just problems. There's just so many problems, and the one of the biggest problems is one of the guys working for him, who's like the main character of the story, who just causes problems because he just does what he needs to do, not what needs to be done. So the goals don't line up. It's like, imagine trying to save the world, and another guy is trying to just make sure that when everything goes wrong, some people are still alive.
Right.
It's like, that's like, okay, those are both trying to save, but there's a different level to that one.
Right. The first one is straight up like just matches onto the archetypal realm. The second guy's a little bit more. You could argue he's better because he's doing something a little bit more.
It's practical, because it's just like, something bad is going to happen. Is period. And so like all I can do is shore up what little I can access.
Yeah.
And you've got another guy who's just trying to make sure everything works. It's just like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, you're not that powerful. Yeah.
That's interesting. He's like working at he's like the backstage.
Yeah, think Batman. It's like Batman has like plans on plans on plans, and like he can figure out the whole thing and make sure everything goes right, but something always goes wrong. Something always goes wrong, and he's gonna beat himself up for that. Batman's a brooding kind of guy. If he screws up this much, he's like, oh man, I should have planned for that, and then he plans 3 times as hard the next time. But you notice in the Batman story, the Joker is just doing what he wants to do, and Batman is just getting more miserable, trying to save everything. It's just like, it's just not gonna work, man. Like, you gotta do what you can, and not try, not turn yourself into a self-loathing hero.
Right. Because in real life that sometimes translates to like immobilization. Like, you don't want to be like, you want to still be able to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without that's
well, and you've seen it several times where you go into the Batman stories, and there's several times where Batman becomes the villain because he's trying to save everyone. And it's just like that. You've become the bad guy. It's just like, how do you not see this?
I remember watching. I didn't watch like the whole thing, but it was the Jonathan Pajot video on Batman and how Batman is like a hero in the upside. It might have had to do with like Batman, a hero in the upside down, but he was talking about how the thing that makes Batman like like he does end up seeming like the bad guy, and the thing that kind of makes him a hero, or the thing that makes him a hero, is that he does the good thing, even if from the outside he's looked on as bad. Like, so that's like kind of like how
Well,
people viewed Christ when he was uh, um, crucified, right? Like,
well, yeah, because well,
odd.
it's an inefficient analogy, but it makes sense because there's a seemingly silly part to the Batman story where it's just like if he would just let the Joker go, and I don't mean like let him do whatever he wants, but like let him go as a person, is like this, you can't save this one. If he would just let that guy go, everything would be fine. Everyone's like, well, he should kill the Joker. Like, I'm not saying kill him. I'm just saying give up on him. It's like, because that guy ain't changing. It's like there's certain people who are too far gone for you to help sometimes. And it's just like I'm not equipped to save that guy. It's just like, because I've seen some people go after folks, I've seen people who are really really far gone, come back, but it wasn't because of anything I did, even though I wanted to help. Like, if I tried to help that person, I would have just done something stupid.
Right.
And so sometimes even though you want to help, that's a bad idea, because you would need to find somebody who is a lot more equipped than you are.
Yeah.
It's just like this person, they don't need me, they need a therapist. Like, I'm not a therapist, and if I try to fill that role, I might cause more harm than good.
Yeah.
And so and the thing with Batman is like, the Joker doesn't need a Batman. Batman is enabling him at that point.
It did well, the whole, like, confronting him and then like just letting him, while hanging him upside down. I'm thinking of the scene in the Dark Knight,
Mm-hmm.
where he was hanging upside down. Yeah, there
I
was.
won't kill you, so that makes me better than you. It's just like, no, it just like you're actually doing his job for him.
It was interesting because you do, like, like, I had this when I was watching it, like this dawning. I mean, in all of them, like this dawning. I just had this dawning awareness, like, oh, Batman is seeing this guy as a person, uh, rather than that's what he's doing. He's just seeing him
Well,
as a person.
yeah, but he's not. See, what Batman should be doing is, because he has, well, not in that particular story, because that in that version everything is very realistic, and so like the fantastical superheroes aren't really in that version of the story. But with, say like the classic or the Justice League Batman cartoon stuff, where he's got access to all of these other superheroes who can do all of these fantastic things, it's just like, you need to find the one guy who can actually help the Joker and have him go after him.
Yeah, Mr. Uh, Peterson or something.
Yeah, something. It's like that. He needs one of your fantastical friends, not another guy who is basically the reverse of him.
Yeah.
It's like you're not helping at this point.
Mm, mm.
And that has been brought up so many times, where it's just like, you just keep, like, people, one person after another keeps ragging on him for not dealing with the Joker, because so many people die because of the Joker. And
Did they? What was that in one of the like in the? I'm just trying to remember. Was that in like the movies?
the movies,
Yeah. Did that happen in the movies, or was it like the comic books where they were like ragging on Batman?
no, yeah, it's mostly the comic books. um yeah, mostly the comic books, because they'll bring it up like, you should, like, well, but here's the thing is that they go to the opposite. They go to the opposite extreme. Is you should have killed him. That would have saved so many lives. It's like, no, I'm not saying kill him. I'm saying find somebody who can help that isn't you because you're not helping.
Yeah, that might be Batman's is like a complex or something, like I can do anything.
Yeah. He keeps being too self-reliant. Like he's investing himself too much, and it's a self-toxicity. It's like I can help him. I can figure this out. It's like, no, you can't. You have the resources to find somebody else who can. And he just doesn't do that because, well, I think he doesn't do that because the writers don't want the Joker fixed.
Right. Yeah.
But if I was writing it, I would have had the Joker fixed by now. But that's just me. Like, right. I really don't. I don't like the. You can have the unsolvable problem. The unsolvable problem is always going to be there because there's always a problem to solve. But when you've got as many resources as something like comic books have, there's a solution to that unsolvable problem.
Oh man. Yeah, like you can always I mean, I do understand like the drawing out of a story somewhat in order to like get like have some palpable like material to like but yeah, the question is like how much before it's like, just bring in someone from another comic or
well, and that was where certain, if you bring in a good author, they'll have a good story arc, and you can usually get a really good story out of that. But it's like there's certain stories in comic books where you would look at that and say, man, that should have been the whole story and they should have ended it there. It's like, yeah, but comic books don't like ending stories, and so that's a major problem. It's like,
which I mean, I do like because it makes it interesting. Like that's why you look at like comic books, and I mean, I think it makes it interesting.
Well, it makes it interesting, but it keeps you from investing fully, because something like the story of Old Man Logan, where it's like you've got Wolverine, he's finally degenerating. It's like after all of these years, and he ends up, freezing himself in adamantium in this kind of like weird statue thing. It's like, okay, that's fine and all, but it's just like, okay, you're giving yourself an out. It's like he's coming back. It's like I don't care what anyone says. They're just gonna bring Wolverine back eventually, and that's a problem with a lot of the comic books, is that they're just time capsules. They're like, you're gonna dig up that thing and you're gonna take it out of the ground eventually.
Right, trying to.
So there's no investment. It's like the only people that have, I've said it over and over again, the only people that have ever actually died is Bruce Wayne's parents and Uncle Ben. It's just like, because these are the people that have to die.
Right. In order for it to make sense, in order to make the yeah.
It's because, well, and then like I don't know about a whole bunch of like Spider-Man spinoffs, but
wait, what about girlfriends? Do girlfriends ever die, or are they usually?
They've done the whole thing where in Spider-Man where Quinn like breaks her neck or that kind of thing. They've done that story, but then they also brought her back as Spider-Girl. So it's just like, what? It's just like, make up your mind. But it's just, there's, well, here's the best example, is to make a really good relationship and then draw it out and then complete that relationship and then break it. That's probably the biggest slap in the face you can have to your audience, and they did that with Peter Parker and what's her name, Mary Jane.
Is it Peter Parker? Wait, no. Lois is who?
Lois is with Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Jane. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Mary Jane Watson. Yeah. They drew out that relationship. It had been a really long time. They finally got married, and then what happens? The writer has Mephisto come out of nowhere for no particular reason and say, Aunt May just died. I have her soul, and in exchange for her soul, I want you to give me the happiness of your marriage. That's not a good story. That's just a spiteful writer. It's like, you just don't want these people to be happy.
I've noticed that. So is there any other examples you can find of spiteful writers? Because I've been hearing that.
Oh yeah. I mean, okay. So there's,
I just don't.
It's basically like if you've got like every other writer in a series who didn't like the writer before them, they will completely undo everything that was previously done by the writer before. There's a whole lot of that in comic books, because for some strange reason, whoever is holding the keys doesn't hold the keys to continuity. So there's a whole lot of backtracking and mixing stuff up with stories. And I can't remember what his name was, but there was a guy that like went all out in undoing the pacifist version of Batman. And he like started actually, like he had a 50 cal. This guy, he turned Batman into the Punisher. It was like, okay, like I understand the whole not killing thing is a bit vague when it comes to Batman in some of the stories, but you don't have to go that far. Where he's like outright just trying to kill everyone. It's like there's a line.
Yeah. It almost seems like a like in Jungian psychology, they sort of talk about like it's enantiodromia base, where things go to one side and then they like bounce over, like for like to the opposite.
You got the pendulum swing, that kind of analogy. Yeah. It
like a psychological.
Yeah, some people say that when a say politically or socially or emotionally, if you've got a really hard swing to one side, you're going to have a really hard swing to the other side. Like there's not really much of a middle ground. Things don't tend to even out towards the middle. They tend to, slingshot. And like you want your prime example is the latest Star Wars trilogy, where things slingshotted like crazy to the degree where nobody knew what was going on. And it's like that's the problem of not having a consistent writer. It's just like, no. If you have a story you want to tell, make sure one guy's telling it and he has got help from the rest. That's what happened with George Lucas on his original trilogy, is that one guy's telling the story, but they had more than one director.
Okay.
But one guy was telling the story.
Right. With his didn't I hear with the help of his wife?
Yeah, if his first wife, yeah, if she had not been there, the first movie probably would have ended up like every other strange sci-fi, because the first cut was very corny. It was awkward, and it had a lot of dead air. So like, and the conversations didn't really amount to much. Like some of the cut content was him talking to Biggs, which is like why you see his relationship with Biggs later on. It's like, oh, okay, it's like that's his friend from, you know, Tatooine that we actually never saw in the released cut, because it's like he had a whole conversation with this guy about how he wanted to, you know, join the Empire because it was the only job available. And eventually they just used that version of the conversation that happened with his aunt and uncle. And it's like, you know, I'm just going to go become a trooper. And they're just talking about it. And so
what's dead air? Like filler?
No, dead air is like the awkward pause. This is dead air right here. It's like, so podcasts kind of like this don't like dead air, and it's YouTube videos are very allergic to dead air. That's why you'll get jump cuts. And so it's like immediately from one sentence to the next. And so there was a lot of awkward dead air in the original Star Wars, but a lot of dead air is usually filled in movies with music. And so you can get away with a lot of dead air. The problem is when you look at some of the old cuts, sometimes the music isn't there. And so it's like really awkward to watch. It's like, so a lot of people would say, oh yeah, this is really awkward, that's why they cut it out. Well, it might not have been as awkward if the proper music had been in there. But, you know, because John Williams can fill a room with music.
like soap operas almost, like, except you know, they have like those
when you pull out a dramatic pause, when you really stretch a dramatic pause, that can turn into dead air and get really stupid because it's just like, it just looks like the actor forgot their line at that point. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of what's his name? William Shatner would kind of get, people would rib him over the way that he delivers lines, because it's like he has dead air in his lines.
Yeah.
There's something on the wing. It's like, why was there a pause in the middle of that?
Yeah.
But it's so there's like dead air in the middle, and then he needs to catch up with the rest of what he's saying, so it's all like one word, and so it's like, okay, that's a really awkward thing. But you look at that and it's like, well, actually, I think it's him trying to be Shakespearean, because that's kind of like how a Shakespearean actor would deliver a line, but it's usually two separate lines, not the same line. So, you know, like, I think he just had like a hitch in his actor's training that became a habit. But anyway, this isn't about Shatner. It's good though.
It's just interesting learning about people and what they're like, what they're up to. Yeah. Was he trying to do or was he?
Well, yeah, sir. It's interesting getting into people's quirks, because then you start to learn more about them. I had a teacher in my one psychology class that I actually took. She said, okay, well, construct a psychology project and study whoever you want. And so I actually studied the teacher, because I noticed something that was really awkward. After like every sentence she would have a different version of some kind of letting off steam at the end of the sentence, where it's just like this is your assignment, okay, all right, okay. It's like there was several different versions of saying something after the end of the sentence, and so I would actually tally which version every time she said something. And so after the next like 5 classes, she's like, okay, turn in your projects. And me and a buddy of mine we're doing that project together, and so we handed that in, and she's like, you studied me? Yeah, it's like we actually got an okay mark on that one. It was interesting. But you notice that with people like me, you'll probably pick up the like, because I'm from California. It's like I've got a tick or something. It's like it's leftover. It's in the vernacular down there.
Yeah, like is a big one.
Yeah, but it's the pauses you see right now I actually got from Peterson, because I'm trying to slow myself down to get the right words out. Because if I just keep going, I'll run out of words before my mind has caught up, and you'll end up with those like I've lost my train of thought moments, like what happened a little while ago. And so I'm trying to rein myself back, and I learned that from watching him talk, because you just see him sit there and go, and then he'll do his full thought, and it's like he just ordered everything in his head a lot faster than I can do that.
Right. Yeah, speech is like I'm definitely like when I speak, I sort of get like what I like getting once I get the rotary, like, oh, like I'm talking, then the thoughts sort of flow better. I did have a thing for pausing quite a lot, but it was in order to like shape the thought and then the words to convey. But yeah, speech is
yeah, the thing that comes to mind when you've got speech patterns that hit you,
right?
Not hit you, hitch, that like pause you. It's like it's like, which like in other languages sounds kind of strange to them, because everybody has an sound. In Japan, it's oh, it's like it's oh, and so to them, us going sounds really weird, because
is that like in the anime comics where you get the like or the animes, not anime comics?
Yeah. That's why they go a lot, and so that's their like I'm trying to figure out what to say right now. But because their language is they have different forms in their language, but one of their like it's a very basic sound, but it's like it's clearly the sound for what. And that's so you'll see that a lot. You go through, like, especially if you've got a an anime you're watching with subtitles, and subtitle will usually just say what, and it's like, but that if you did that in America, it would come out the same way. It makes it, you can tell I'm going, what? Like, what are you talking about? So there's but yeah, hitch words, hitch sounds, like well, that kind of stuff um, will will teach you a lot about somebody's thought process. Like I had an old, I think it was civics or something teacher. At the end of each of his sentences, he would go, like he was like getting rid of the last bit of error from that sentence. And it's just like, why do you do that? And it's like, is he like, and that's the proper form of investment. It's just like, eh?
That almost
Why does it go after every sentence? It's like I was like, oh, okay, well, and
almost betrays
and then
like a nervous, like a like or like an unsure, like when you made that sound, I was like whatever your teacher said before that, he wasn't very sure. Like he was.
Yeah, and that's what it makes it sound like. But then I recently the reason we went up to Michigan was my uncle passed away, and his wife has that same hitch problem where it's just like you hear her do that kind of release of air at the end of the sentence. And I talked to my parents about it. I was like, why does she do that? And she's like, oh, she's in pain. It's like, oh, it's a pain problem. It's like, oh, okay. So my teacher might have had a chronic pain thing, and it's like that can cause that problem. Like, Dad used to have I think a coach or someone that, like, you'd see him stand around and he'd always be like, and you think he's like smiling awkwardly. It's like, no. He had terrible back pain, and that's him grimacing all the time.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like there's a lot of little things in what people do that are completely misinterpreted.
Yeah. I will like if I'm honest, I will sometimes, like, I remember my dad told me, if you're not feeling well, actually just smile, and you will feel better. So I'll pull out that tool if I have to.
Yeah, it helps a lot. I listened to some like self-help tapes a while ago, and it's like, okay, well, these are kind of neat little things. But the number one thing was, like, this lady came into the guy's office, and she's like, I feel miserable. It's like, okay, well, you look miserable. It's like try to solve that, and it might help the other thing. And just like, he's like, okay, try this. Sit up. Like, don't hunch over like you're miserable. It's like, no, sit up. Like, actually try it physically. That's probably why Peterson says, shoulders back, that kind of thing. It helps a lot, with your posture and your like, I feel more confident now that my shoulders are back. It's like, I feel like I can actually project into this conversation. But you sit up, and don't bob your head, don't put your don't lean over to the side or all that stuff. Actually square yourself up, and then just smile. And you don't have to go, you don't have to force yourself, just like a casual, and you'll feel better.
Yeah.
It's like, and he said that to her, and it's like he had her go through the motions, and he's like, okay, how do you feel now? She's like, good. Like, okay. Like, it works. It works. It's just getting yourself into that point, because sometimes, and I know I felt this, like, ever since we lost Voth, I've had to force myself into feeling better. Like, it's been almost a year, and it's still kind of weighing on me. And it's why I haven't been participating as much in the Bridges of Meaning. But because, like, I just lost that momentum. I felt like I had a lot more momentum, and I've been doing less talks, and like, I wanted to talk to Mercury a week or so ago, but he was going through stuff, and I was just like, well, I don't know. And I did that kind of, like criticizing Batman things. It's like, well, like he's going through his stuff, but you're not the guy to help him with that. I was like, okay, yeah, that's probably a good idea, because like I'm going through my own things. So it's like some people can commiserate, but sometimes you're unknowingly dragging people into your own misery. And so it's like, yeah, try to mellow that. It's like, okay, it's like I don't want to make you feel bad because I feel bad. It's yeah. Like you got a lot of little pithy sayings like, hurting people hurt people. It's like, well, yeah, if they don't rein themselves in, yeah, that can happen.
Yeah.
So I try to keep my sadness down, so I'm not making anybody else sad.
Well,
it's like,
and having someone to talk to, and that's why having like, being like I think trying to be a strong friend and having strong friends, you can sort of like, if there's something going on, you can like, get help, talk to somebody, and like you can get help, and there's not much like, you can get to a point where it's like not too much cost either way, or it's like even if so, there's people still like, love you even if like something goes awry. Yeah, I've been trying to learn more about that sort of thing for sure.
About grief?
Oh, well, about like dealing with grief basically. And I guess like the in friendships, just like
support systems.
Support systems, and the given, like the energy that like is flowing in a relationship, where it's like, almost like a give and take, but I don't know if I'd call it
sometimes there's give and take, sometimes there's a fair trade, right. Sometimes
right,
sometimes
you're doing even more, where it's like, oh, you're generating.
Sometimes there can be a what do they call that, what do you call that?
Is it a positive feedback?
Positive feedback loop, yeah. Not a negative, yeah. Sometimes you can have an excess, where it's the cup runneth over kind of analogy. It's just like there's so much it's flowing out, but then you can get the situation that Paul has been talking about recently, where you've got the folks that, because they help other people, or because they have prayed for somebody, or because they have taken on someone else's burden, that burden is literally on them, like spiritually. It's like they feel that, and they're suffering because of it, and they've taken it from that person. And now, whether you believe that is happening spiritually, it's like, I'm not gonna get into that, because I'm not versed enough in that to comment.
Yeah, it's interesting, but definitely not. Yeah.
Going into it psychologically, a while back, I had talks about what empathy was, and I read a book called Against Empathy that had which is a bad title. It's a bad title. It's not really against empathy. It just wants you to rethink empathy. But he had a story about a lady who was way too empathetic, to the degree where she couldn't function. Like she felt everything everyone else was feeling around her to her own detriment. So it got bad.
Right.
It's like you can overdo
And
empathy.
that's that I think that's part of why, like, maybe like I don't know if it'd be a functioning ego or just like emotional, being able to emotionally like you wanna feel things, but you don't want to feel everything
Yeah,
everyone is.
you need a certain amount of emotional security.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people who are shy or nervous are holding off because they're afraid of exposing themselves emotionally. And sometimes that's very warranted because they've been hurt before, and they don't really have the same stores of happiness to spend that other people do. It's like, okay, that makes sense. If you're particularly depressed, it's like sometimes a bad investment is very devastating. But you know uh, there's a lot of folks, like myself included. Me, I'm shy as a default, but you open me up and I can invest.
Right. Right.
Because like I've got excess to spend. Like I can have 3-hour conversations.
Right.
But the it's it's like the 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 gated fence, like we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. It's
Right.
You've got your gated fence, and then your wall. There's a gated fence to a lot of shy people.
Sure.
And a few of them, it's just a wall. It's like they don't open up because they can't open up because it's devastating to them. And so
So do you think it would be devastating, or sometimes, or do you think like people can think or make themselves think that it's uh, a wall, like the overflowing, like they wouldn't know what to do with it if
sometimes in excess of joy can become a detriment, because you've got it. And it depends on your mental health, because like sometimes you can see this excessive joy and want to spite it because you're not feeling that. And so it's a jealousy starts seeping in. And it's just like, man, why can't I be that happy? And that kind of thing. And that can be a weird drawback. And I've actually caught myself doing that a couple of times recently. I was just like, man, why don't I have that job, or why isn't my channel taking off like that? It's like there's a whole lot of little jealousies. But it's just like, well, you don't know the circumstances in that person's life. It's like like there might be a reason why this little thing is so great to them, because they have something painful that they've been holding on to, and this is a release from that pain.
right.
Even
This
for
like
a moment.
a buttress, right?
Yeah. And it's been harder to do that recently, but I've been trying to get into that mind frame again, because a couple of years ago I would do that all the time, like um get angry, or somebody would get angry at someone, or somebody would say something about someone, like I'd be like, well, you don't know what they're going through, and that would kind of diffuse the tension. And I hadn't been saying that to myself as much. I'd be saying it to other people. It's like, well, hold on, you don't know what they're going through. I'd be saying that to other people, but I hadn't been saying it to myself as much. And so to ingrain that a lot more, so that I'm not just a Pharisee, screaming on the corner saying like, "Oh yeah, you're all ruined." It's like, but I'm the one with the problem. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to feel happy for someone else when you're going through something kind of crappy. So, but you
And that's, I
gotta,
think that's sort of like a support system. You can like if you like building uh, a friendship, like sometimes that's what for me when I'm feeling like, oh, things are a little bit down. You can see like with certain people you can be like, oh, they're doing well, and being able to look at like I've noticed there's a lot of strength in being able to look at people as like, well, just being able to draw some sort of like strength from just the good that's going on with uh them. And I think that's like part of the like advantage of support systems, I guess is that you can
yeah.
sort of
There's
like, yeah.
there's a lot of many hands make light work, and the more people, well, to a degree, the more people you have in a support group, the easier the burden gets of being able to kind of get through something.
Right. And then
Um,
there's also the problem of like too many cooks.
yeah. You need a balance. It's like I can't remember what the name of that was, but where it's like people would say is like, well, a good tribe was up to like, this many people. It's like, was it 500? Um,
Right. Before the amount of people you can know before it starts becoming like or the
yeah,
ideal number of people you can
yeah. There's a certain amount of people that you can know, and then there's a smaller number of that you can actually get to know. It's like something around 80 or something. But there's and then there's an even smaller number of people that you can really invest in. And um, a lot of shy folks, um, have even smaller numbers of
right.
those numbers, where it's like I like they can say like, well, I know 100 people, and I uh, and I know and I know 20 people well, but I only invest in one person. It's like that kind of thing. It's like the numbers crunch down when when uh, when there's more social pain.
Mm.
And it's like I've actually noticed that with myself. It's like I have one friend left from high school. One.
Huh. 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 Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, I try to like when I don't know, I got more interested like probably like a year ago. I was like got more interested in the kids from high school because it was like, oh, we're actually like doing things like trying to bring our own like light into the or bring something of some uh uh
Substance.
substance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got more interested, but it was like I don't know. I do have like moments where or I think I am pretty gregarious um with like those, especially I think like the high school, like those circles are interesting uh to
Well,
me.
yeah, because there's such a it's
I don't know
it's an
how many I call friends,
it's
but
an explosion of diversity in the proper sense of the word, um in a very small group. so it's like if you want to hear more varied stories in a smaller space, it's like, yeah, go talk to some old high school buddies. It's like it's gonna blow your mind because you're not with them. You're the same way you're with like somebody at work or your brother or your sister or something like that, where it's like you've basically caught up to what their day to day is. It's like they're whoever, like whatever Joe from second period, back in 2007 or something. It's like, oh man, it's like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. It's like, what have you been up to? It's like, well, let me tell you. And it's like, dude, you've been through it. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you've been through it too. It's just that you don't know that
yeah, it was a slow burn for you, and then like telling your story, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
what happened to me?
yeah. I'm like fucked up. Like what? Like man, that thing really did me. I'm all right, but man,
yeah. There's and there's some people from high school. It's like I wouldn't even know where to start anymore. It's just like, man, there's some history here, and I'm like, where do you work? It's just like I don't know what to say.
Yeah. And then you could even like, yeah, totally.
Well, and then you got the other side of the coin to where because I know I've got this in my circles of the people you really want to talk to, but you haven't talked to them in such a long time, it would feel awkward again because of like you felt like you should have been talking to them the whole time, or they've been right there. Like I've got family members that live like a like like an hour away from each other that have not visited in years, and it's just like, how have you not been there? Like
Yeah.
you're literally an hour away from visiting all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and I think that's a matter of like, if you like the person, like I can understand if you live an hour away from someone or a relative. Luckily, I like most of my relatives. So it's like then it would be like, okay, why? But if you just don't even, if the desire doesn't even like come up, I can understand. But well, yeah, no, that's
I gotta ask, what happened to you? Were you eaten alive or something?
So I was working at a working at a horse
Stable?
horse stable, yeah, horse ranch basically, and I was lifting hay bales for like hours, and then I got very immature and just decided I'm scratching every itch that, like, I'm still scratching the itches. I have some hydrocortisone, but
Okay.
but yeah, I'll show you, and you can like have nightmares.
So are you, what is it like, are you allergic to the hay or something? What
No,
happened?
it just the hay. I mean, it's either I'm allergic to the hay or the hay just poked me and it made like little like rashes, and
Oh.
then I just decided like, oh, I'm going to, and like when I was taking a shower, like, oh my gosh, I've never had a shower that felt so good, like with the hot water. It was
Yeah.
pure
Well, yeah, there's you should probably be using the stuff you use for what's it,
like Neosporin.
no, I'm trying to remember. It's in a pink bottle. It's for
Sunscreen.
no, it's for chicken pox. It's like it's so soothing.
Okay. So this was on South Park. Calamine lotion.
That yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. You should probably use that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I So here's the story.
Okay.
My buddy Colin lives down in Florida, and so like I like to visit him every couple of years.
Yeah.
And I spent like a week and a half there, and I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I yeah I 3 years ago I started feeling bad. Like in Florida, I started feeling bad, and I got a fever, and was like, oh man, I don't know what's up with me. And then I had a zit or something, and I had just picked at it and didn't think of anything of it. Well, next thing I know, like I've got spots here and there and all over me, and I'm just like, well, what's going on? And I take a shower and I feel worse after the shower. I was like, what is happening to me? I was like, I feel awful. Come to find out, I had somehow gotten chicken pox for the second time in my life.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna try to not be a burden, and they're just doting on me, and I'm just feeling awful. And I come home, and I for the next month I'm on this regimen of keeping myself from scratching and all this stuff, which doesn't work, by the way. It's like you're gonna scratch eventually. But there's there was this weird sense at that time where I got really thankful. It was weird. I was simultaneously the most miserable I'd ever been and really happy. It was like I didn't know what was going on. And it was like some kind of release of endorphins trying to keep me from losing my mind or something. But it was
as like a compensation, or
yeah, maybe. But I was extremely grateful for everything that people were trying to help me with, like even though I was miserable. And um I kind of got you it was weird. I kind of got used to that gratitude, and I was kind of getting into a groove with working, because I had put myself on a schedule, because like if I don't get myself on a proper schedule, I'm not going to recover properly. And the hard part wasn't the schedule. The hard part was trying to maintain that gratitude. And at the end of that month, like I think like I think I ended up dropping the schedule because I wasn't in the right frame of mind anymore. It's like I wasn't I wasn't as grateful as I should have been. It was weird. It's like I was better off miserable. It's like that doesn't make any sense. but you kind of, it's like you do gain you do gain something in being physically ill. It's so strange.
so do you mean like you were better off ill because you had the gratitude?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Well, then I think the trick is to like be gracious for like in general, but then like maintain it through like small things. Like that's what I would.
Yeah, and so like I'm trying for a very long time to try to figure out like, okay, how do I recultivate that gratitude? Like how do I build that back up? And what Peterson has been going through recently is he found himself at the point of resentment. Like he's like, I know I shouldn't be resentful. It's like, I know I shouldn't do that. I have written about this stuff, hours on hours, days on days. I know what not to do, but it's hard. It's really hard, and I understand that like going through what he went through. Like I can't imagine pins and needles constantly for a year. It's like that's insane to me, but it seems like his wife found that that moment of grace that I had kind of an inkling of during that month of misery. It's like she found that and cultivated it, and it's like it's grown in her where she's it seems like she's trying to help cultivate that in him with hearing the stories that are going on. Like she's having them pray at the table and do little things. It's just like, okay, well that's that's nice. But it seems like he's like at the cusp there of he's at a really weird tipping point. It's like he's not on a fence where he could tip either way. He's on a point where he can tip in any direction. That's a very dangerous place to be, but there's also a lot of potential there.
Do think the orthodoxy is going to be more attractive to Peterson, especially if like his correspondence with like Pajot, and I think like, well, regardless, I think him embracing gratitude, like that's going to be good regardless. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like if like I'm not rooting for any particular sect. Like I don't care where he goes. I just want him helped.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That's why the gratitude almost seemed like the more important of the
yeah,
two.
like he if he can figure out, not figure out, because the figure out's the wrong way to put it. If he can open up to um to the to the grace available for that, and I think that's also the problem that I had. I think that's also the problem that I had in that month, is that while I was grateful, I was also trying to do it myself. And that's the problem, is that my recovery became me and not something I was externally grateful for. And so it became like a point of pride.
Okay.
And
So yeah,
yeah.
it was like the source of the joy, or like maybe God.
Well, the source of the healing in the perspective of the source of the healing became personal instead of external, and that was the problem. Is that instead of being grateful for the help everybody else was giving to me while I was recovering, I was focusing too much on how, hey, I fought through this, and I feel better now. It's like, no,
Right.
no, a lot of people helped you with that feeling. It's like I wasn't externally grateful anymore. I was internally grateful. It was the wrong side of the coin.
Yeah. I definitely encounter that, like I guess yeah, the
which I'm hoping he sees in his family, that that generosity, because like unlike me, who like I had to put myself on a regimen, and then I started thinking about that wrongly. He was unconscious for a lot of this. It's like, so there's
oh, hold on one second.
there's a lot of okay.
Okay, no, sorry about that. My mom was trying to give me food. I was like, I'm not hungry.
Okay. It's okay. But yeah, there's a lot of external the opportunity for external gratitude is there.
Right.
And a lot of it. Now, I will reiterate, I don't know what he's going through. It's like, and you know, I've got to keep telling myself that for a lot of things. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know what she's going through.
You can get a hint,
but
it's not.
Yeah, you're never going to get the full story. But at the same time, there's a lot of hope in it. There's a lot, and being unattached, like being completely external. Like we're literally just watching this like a soap opera. We have no say in anything that goes on.
We can try to do some good and hope that it know that it ripples almost, or
yeah.
hope that,
yeah. We can hope that there's some trickle up, but really it's between him, his family, and God, because there's a lot of stuff that is going on in that situation where it's just like I have no idea where this is going. It looks good, but I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. As any good drama, you're not sure where it's.
There's enough mystery to keep it interesting.
Yeah. That's I was actually like, I think that's like being confident that you can get through anything, but also have this like, you don't know where there's no guarantees. It's just I mean, there's things that are reliable, and there's some like God, like there's some things that are true, and rocks of stability, but there's still, I guess.
Yeah, but there's sand between the rocks.
Right.
Yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, there's there's pitfalls in sand, and and if you've ever watched Star Wars, sand is rough and coarse and gets everywhere. But I want to get back to the initial talk, which was on villains.
Yeah.
And
I do want to get your thoughts on the Joker movie.
Okay. On
Yeah.
the movie?
Yeah, the new Joker film. Did you watch that?
Yeah. I watched that with Colin. So yeah, that was great.
Cool.
Yeah, I have to try to separate it because it's technically separate from a lot of the mythos from the comic books. But it did, I think it told that kind of story properly, even if I don't like the even if I don't like the angle of the unreliable narrator.
So if you wouldn't have told it like that, but the way they told it was,
they did the job properly. I wouldn't have done it like that. I would have told a different story, but with what they did it right.
Yeah.
And so I think if we were doing grading, I would have graded it a 10 on technical like on a technical scale. It's like, this is like textbook, this is how you should have done this, and you did it right. So like, good on them for that. And also on the story, I'd give them a 9 because they did it right, but they kind of tripped at the finish line.
Oh, do you think that might have been? Do you think that is proper though for the Joker? Like, do you think you can't make the Joker too perfect? Like,
no, but it has nothing about it being perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about storytelling. And if you want to tell a good story, it has to have a level of consistency. And that's the problem with introducing the unreliable narrator, is that you can lose investment. And that's the last thing you want to do to an audience, is lose their investment. And I think they did it properly with his weird flashbacks, with him having the fantasies that he had, where it's just like there was a completely different life that was going on outside of his head. And so I think they did that properly. Like that, if I was ever going to do an unreliable narrator, that's how I would have done it. But they mixed their metaphors at the end. So, or I'm not sure metaphors is the right term. You're not quite sure if you're not quite sure if the riot part and the him being in an insane asylum part have anything to do with one another. Because at the end, he's in an asylum, and you don't know if he's been there the entire time and just imagined all of the stuff that happened, or if he actually participated.
Consequence of something he had done.
Yeah. If he was taken there after the riot, like you don't know that. And that's where you didn't want to mix that metaphor. It's like it makes perfect sense to have him be a part of that riot, participate because he's he's an over dramatic imbecile, and do the weird smile thing because that's him, and then have him eventually rounded up and taken away because that just makes sense. Like, yeah, that kind of guy is gonna be locked up in Arkham, of course. But with the weird flashback of, like, I can't remember exactly where they did it, but there was a particular part where you got this weird flash where he's already in the padded room, and then it kind of goes back to what's going on. I wouldn't have done that. That loses investment because the worst, I wouldn't say the worst, the most annoying kind of story that is told today is it was all a dream. Because
that happened. Yeah.
Because on one hand, and Peugeot would argue this, but on one hand, it's the materialist and like, oh well, none of it is real thing. On the other hand, like, you'd have Peugeot saying like, well, no, it was real to that person. It's like, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense, but does it matter? Does if it's what is it? Brazil.
Oh, what was that? Go ahead.
I think it's is it Brazil? There's a movie that it's like this kind of grungy future, and throughout the whole thing, you're watching this guy go on this crazy adventure, and through the whole thing, you'll hear the music about Brazil like in the background, and then at the end of the movie, you realize that this guy is just a mental patient sitting in his chair humming the words to the song, and you're like, wait, did anything from that story happen? It's like, so it's a complete mystery, and it was such a interesting story where you wanted that to be what happened,
yeah,
but you don't know,
right?
And so suddenly it's like a torn piece of paper. It's just like there's a full page there, but there's such a gash in it, you can't use it properly anymore. It's like, well, like I wanted to be able to think about this as something awesome that happened, but now it's just like,
now
it didn't happen.
A little bit right.
and that affects things differently, where if you've got a story like a long drawn out story where one of those sequences goes on where it's like it was all a dream, and it happens to somebody who's already in another story that also has such interesting things, say like it happened to Batman, the question of does it matter is different. So in that movie, the one with the Brazil, in that movie, I would say no, it doesn't really matter. Why? Because this guy is just a mental patient locked away, not affecting anything. You have that happen to Batman, you now have somebody with a false set of memories in a very powerful position dealing with a trauma that never happened. That changes things in the external world.
You mean the Joker, right? Not
No. I'm saying, like, if the it was all a dream kind of thing happened to somebody like Batman,
right,
that would change things in the world.
Right. That would be. Oh, what's wrong with that? Yeah. That would be. I mean,
Now,
that might make an interesting comment.
in the Joker movie,
Right.
you have both sets of problems. So on the one hand, it's, did this thing, was this all a dream? And or was it all real? Or was most of it real? Which is what it's kind of hinting at. So most of this is real. It's like, okay, I'll take that.
Right.
But what little of it was a dream, does that matter? And I would say that depends on whether or not the end of the movie happened. Did he escape from Arkham Asylum? If he did, it matters. If he didn't escape, it doesn't matter.
Because he's in an insane asylum.
Yes. So it's the Brazil versus, okay, let's separate this a little bit. Let's say it happened to Iron Man. If Iron Man was in a dream thing, which, no, this actually happened. Okay, so in the second Avengers movie, the Scarlet Witch messed with Tony Stark's mind and made him go through those "it was all a dream" thing, but it traumatized him multiple times. It messed with him. Right. That matters.
Have you ever seen Doom Patrol?
Yes.
Doom Patrol. Yeah. Me and Mercury watched some of that, but like there was dream stuff that happened with Mr. Nobody where it like messed him up, right? Or
yeah,
relive things that it.
Yeah, he's like, well, why don't you just live here? I just solved all of your problems. Just live here, and they're just like, yeah, but it's not real.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you don't understand. I can manipulate reality. This is real. It's like, so it's like it puts a different spin on it, but it's not their reality. And so that's another thing of why I can't stand like the multiverse thing, because you lose investment in certain realities because you've got such a multiverse thing going on to the degree where it seems like nothing matters. And that's where I think it was like some Injustice storyline where like the alternate version of the superheroes were all evil and they had basically taken over the world. And that version of Batman was this terrible nihilist who was just like, hey, I found the original universe, and I'm going to put a bomb at the origin point and wipe out everything because it doesn't matter. It's like he went that far. It's like, okay, well, if you can go that far in that story, don't you think a lot of people are going that far in that story? Because one of them went that far. And so you end up with this endless cascade of nihilism, where the multiverse, and then I kind of get there's an argument where it's like, well, yeah, it matters to the people of that universe. It's like, of course it matters to the people of that universe. It's their universe.
Right.
But it's like the best depiction of this is recently in Dragon Ball.
Okay.
They did a multiverse story arc where they actually had several universes competing in a tournament. Because they always need a fighting tournament because that's Dragon Ball.
Right.
But
a fighting tournament run by isn't usually by the bad guy? Is usually
but this one was run by like their depiction of this dual entity god figure that like literally is the creator, and it's like two little alien things. It's like, okay, whatever. But they the stipulation was, if you lose, your entire universe is wiped out of existence. That's not a flippant thing. It's like that's
everything.
Trillions of lives. It's like, okay, it's like they're wiping out an entire existence. So
yeah,
and they do it casually.
Right. And the villains are usually, they're the most flippant you can be about something like.
But that's the thing. They're not the villains. They're uninvested deities. It's just like they don't care. It's just like, okay, it's like if you took deism to a absurd degree. I think that's deism, where it's like, where the idea that whatever creator had anything to do with this just started the clock and walked away.
Right. That's almost a nihilistic. It's so odd because it's obviously like it's the belief in something like eternal.
There's something there, but
it's disconnected from
there's it's eternal nihilism or something. It's like there's something there, but it doesn't matter. It's like, what? It's like, no, neither of those, that doesn't mesh. So
not to say that I don't think like that there is something to like the Spinozan, the divine, the divine like understanding that like abstraction like is part of like it's part of God. I don't know how I would put it. Like I wouldn't like chuck that out immediately, but it is something like with the Dragon Ball, like that's different from other like well, like I don't know if that's a God number 2 thing with the God that's or God number 1 thing where it's like the creator that's less personal, but I think that's
I can't remember. I can't remember the dichotomy of those two ideas. I can't like I know it, but I don't know it. Like if you know what I mean. Like if he started going back and forth and talking about it, I'd be able to pick it up, but I can't remember. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now.
Right.
But in that universe, it was not that universe. In that multiverse, it was casual that things were completely wiped out of existence. But the other side of that was, it mattered to the people who are left. It's like, okay, but then you look at all of the universes that were competing in that, and there was a finite amount of them. And so it's like, hold on, wait a second. You're relatively all powerful, and you're holding a fighting tournament, and a couple dozen universes are involved. Why so little? Like what? Like with the infinite expanse out there, it's like you'd think there'd be like a huge tournament, but there's not that many teams. And so it's just like it's like they have a multiverse, but it's a very finite multiverse where it's almost like all of that other spin-off stuff where it's like, no, there's billions upon billions of other universes. It's like, not really, because there's only so many things that can happen.
Right.
And so it's kind of like,
and then you get fan fiction that like turns the
it's
a multiverse within a multiverse, or
it's there's a it brings up the concept of infinity in a box. It's like, how does that work? It's like, well, that's kind of what the Dragon Ball story has introduced, is unlimited potential contained. It's like, then it's limited. It's like, yeah, but it's in a box.
Right.
And it's unlimited. It's like, but it's in a box. Yeah, but it's unlimited. Oh, okay. It's like, and so suddenly you can do something with that.
Yeah.
So with something like Marvel or DC with their multiverse stuff, it's hard for me to get invested when you introduce multiverse theory, because the potential is so unlimited, it becomes a chaotic soup, where to do anything with it, you have to zoom in. And you're zooming in so far, none of the multiverse matters. Where and then you zoom out a little bit and you've got one or two universes interacting in the multiverse thing. It's like, okay, well that brings in an aspect of this, but I can't invest in the other universes that are participating. I'm only invested in the one where I started with. And so suddenly the multiverse, the universe that you start in is the real universe, regardless of what numbers in front of it.
Regardless of what numbers
in front of it. Because they say, like, or behind it. They say, universe 616 or universe 2 or like that kind of thing.
Right, they call it. Right.
Yeah. And so suddenly everything outside of that doesn't matter, because it can't matter because you can't think about it.
Well, yeah, and then there is like right.
Because their infinity isn't in a box.
Right.
See, with us, our like you look at the universe and you see this like oh yes, well you see that picture of the universal background radiation, where it's just like, here's a map of the universe in radiation. It's like we actually, it's like we know where the ends are of the universe. It's like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, but that's unlimited potential in a box.
But is it like right? But is it? I mean, as far as like okay, but so in ours it would just be like the box might be expanding. So, but still the contents maybe are.
Yeah, it's still in a box. That's the thing. Even it doesn't matter how much the box expands. Like
that does seem. Yeah, that seems. That's interesting. It seems like It seems useful, though.
Yeah, you can now do something with it, because outside of the box, it is formless. It's like the like imagine the universe being a imagine the universe being, like it says in the Bible, it was, like deep waters,
formless and void, right?
Yeah. And so, like, you've got these deep waters, there's nothing to that, but
right. Besides,
you put the water in a glass,
maybe,
and you can do something with that water now.
Right.
It's got a shape now. It's got a form. And if you imagine the universe as kind of like oobleck, you put that oobleck in a box, and it's not going to get all over the carpet. And you can do something with that now.
Yeah. No, that is interesting, because I when I was thinking about it, I was thinking that you can do something with it, but I didn't put it like that. Like when the universe in the box is you can act. It's actionable.
Because if you ran your hand through it, it would just be running your hand through it. That's it. You put it in a box, you're causing a wave, and it's going to splash against the side. Okay, so there's action and reaction. It's like there's going to be a consequence. And so why I talked about the multiverse thing in Dragon Ball and their limited amount of participating universes. It's like, okay, hold on. Even if there was more than one universe, you now have a limited amount of participating universes. We've found the boundary. We've found the box.
Right.
So now this story can include all of those other universes, and it's not inaccessible because there is a boundary to the infinite.
Right. And it still retains a sense of expansive.
Yeah, it's still incredibly vast. Right. It's like Minecraft.
Yeah.
There's technically a limit, but are you gonna get there?
Right. And I think I think of Star Trek. I haven't watched a bunch, but I think that's like the best example of I think they got the expansiveness. I think they're the most expansive. With Dragon Ball, you don't really know what's going on in the other universes.
No, yeah. You don't know what's going on there, but it's accessible, limitless potential. That's how I would put it. Because if you've got infinite universes and everything's expanding out, then there's a whole lot of inaccessible, limitless potential, and suddenly that stops mattering. Where if you have limitless potential that's accessible, suddenly that matters to you. There's actionable, and you can create goals, and things can be done. And what Paul was saying the other day was that it's like there's it seems like human beings were created as a connection between above and below, in that it's above shaping below through us, and that's why we want to do things like things that don't make sense. It's like we want to shape. We want to order certain things, and that can get out of hand because we're not perfect. But there's you sit around and do nothing, and how do you feel after a good half hour? Like you feel like you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah, we do like to try and shape the above into something like
shape the below.
Right. Yeah. Shape the below based on some form from the hopefully something from above is
Yeah.
yeah yeah
Yeah.
yeah. Um, man.
So okay, so you said you wanted to talk about Joker. Is there another movie that you wanted to get into?
So there was the Joker. No, not. Uh, there was the
Or
Joker.
another villain that you wanted to go on?
Well, there was uh, like Ganondorf and Bowser. Like for some reason, like just the motif of like taking the like you started talking at the beginning about taking the
Oh yeah.
role. Um,
Mm.
well, just yeah, I think their characters and like Peach and Zelda are also two uh,
Well, it's interesting you notice that they're both wearing pink.
mm-hmm.
And so it's and pink is very, it's, you go into that and it's very um
innocent. Like
it's very innocent because you like Peterson, brings up like, well, why do women wear red? And it's like, well, red is the color of ripe fruit. It's like, well, you go into pink and it's like, well, pink isn't red. And so clearly it's not ripe yet.
right. Which is I was actually talking to Andrea, and she was talking about how the problem with taking the the well taking the fruit, right? It was before the time where the fruit was uh
Right.
like it wasn't the
It
time.
wasn't ready.
Eventually they would have uh been able to eventually they would have been able to, but it was just not the right time, which is like, okay, so these guys are essentially like quintessential villains because they're taking something before the right moment.
Yeah. It's trying to skip steps. And if you try to skip steps, like okay, this is gonna sound weird, but it's part of the story of Bowser. So one of the running gags with Bowser is that he keeps trying to get Peach to fall for him romantically. And
right. You see him like
he's completely going about it the wrong way. And that is, he's skipping steps. He is it's why a lot of people will say, well, don't move in together. It will ruin your relationship later on, and you'll most likely get divorced if you ever do get married. That kind of thing.
This is great. This is all things that
He's moving her in to his castle before they've even gotten a good rapport. It's like he's skipped so many steps. It's it's tantamount to 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 the degree where in the stories it's kind of played up because it's a kid's game. He's not really gonna die, but he gets killed at the end of every game. He gets thrown into lava. It's like, you're not supposed to live through that, but it goes so far, he basically gains capital punishment for the offense because he's skipped so many steps. He's broken that many social laws. And so you don't with that storyline, he's moving too fast. And it I think why a lot of people like the Paper Mario series is because it kind of gives you his perspective on, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah. He's doesn't he have like a tux, like he's looking good or looking sharp?
No, that was what was that? I think that was Mario Odyssey, where he actually tries to get her to marry him.
Okay.
But it's just like, okay, that's less. Technically, that's less than what he originally did, which was just moving her into the house, which is like end goal stuff. Moving in together is supposed to be farther on in the relationship. It's
Right.
like,
Okay, that was
get
Odyssey.
married and then you move in together, and it's like, yeah. And so it's like, okay, so he's getting closer. He's definitely not there yet, though. And so, but in Paper Mario, because it was an RPG, you were able to take the time to hear his motivations and actually get his side of the story. He's still doing it wrong, but you're actually understanding more of his motivations. He wants a mother for his children. That's why. It's like that. Oh, that makes sense now. It's like, okay.
Right.
But he's going about it all wrong because he's a big stupid dragon.
Right. Yeah. And then how do you get the kids in the first
place? Yeah. That you get the kind of the Sylvester and Tweety thing where it's like, how did Sylvester get a son? It's like, when did this happen?
Right.
What?
Which also might be part of the problem. Like,
yeah.
I guess the last one didn't. No.
Yeah. Well, you've got two sides of that. It's like either she didn't stick around, or she's passed away or something, which is more tragic. But either way, he's still going about it the wrong way. Where that's different in okay, so Bowser, proper form would have been gain a rapport, develop a friendship, develop a relationship, and then propose. That kind of thing. That's how relationship works. Like, right. you grow it over time. He skipped all the steps. So what you're supposed to do is you grow it over time.
Right.
Okay. Where that's different with Ganondorf is that it has nothing to do with a hold
power,
on.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's I'm getting there. Hold on. But with Bowser, in a proper story, not a proper story. In reality, what I think would have happened would be him trying to do that. She says no because he's a dragon. Probably. And them, staying friends, and he goes after somebody else eventually. That would have been the healthy thing. But that's not what happens.
And anyway, he had to, like, it's odd because he had to compete with Mario, who's a plumber, who's an actual, like, he has an actual job.
Yeah.
Like, that's
yeah. And I think Koopa's like a king in almost name only, because like I don't know what he's exactly running. But anyway, so but yeah, going to Ganondorf, it's you nailed it on the head. What he's taking, it's not romantic at all. There's no good intentions meant. It is power. He's trying to take power wrongly. He's trying to seize it. It's like, and power is not something you seize. And if you do, you're going to be a tyrant.
Right.
Which happens every time you seize power, is you become a tyrant.
To look.
With him taking Zelda, he is robbing her of her autonomy and therefore her authority over the kingdom, because she can no longer rule in his under his captivity. And so the everything falls to him, becoming the tyrant, because their authority figure is gone. And he is literally the power that is filling that vacuum. Now, there's actually there's a story somebody is currently going through right now, a full comic book of the of the story of the Legend of Zelda, where they took that entire concept of the story looping, and it, like there's several different versions of what's going of what happens, regardless of the timeline or all that stuff, but it all just keeps cycling and cycling and cycling. But it's from the perspective of Zelda saying, I figured out the cycle and I want to stop the cycle, and I know how to finish it. I know what to do. So she wants to do it properly while Ganondorf is still being Ganondorf. And so she, it's kind of the Beauty and the Beast situation. If Beauty was still hating the Beast because she's just trying to do the right thing and not so much trying to save him. She's trying to save everybody.
So those are both
she's
capturing the feminine from the king or the positive, like masculine or like the familiar.
She's trying to she's trying to tame a T-Rex, basically. It's like this, it's big and unwieldy, and it's probably not going to work. But like, there's a whole lot of steps. And the thing is, with the story in the traditional video games, is that, again, like with Bowser, Ganondorf is skipping all of the steps. Here is how he would have properly done this. He is technically a king of a territory. Okay? Because, that's what's happened. That's what traditionally happens with the Gerudo. A male is born every 100 years or so, and that is their king. It's like, okay, he's royalty. Royalty. He already has power. By right. So how do you get more power being a king without becoming a tyrant?
Influence.
Diplomacy.
Right.
You've got to form alliances. You've got to work with people.
Right.
And and you're right. Influence. Like if you are killing everybody, you're not going to gain influence. You're going to gain fear.
Right. Trade seems like the optimal thing. There's obviously war. Just taking.
But that's his pattern. Is that he keeps opting for war, and war isn't working. It's clearly not working because it just keeps happening over and over again. And he keeps losing. Like he'll win for a couple of years, but he'll lose every time their version of Link shows up. Because and in this particular comic that I was reading is he knows that too. So she knows it, and he knows it. The only person that hasn't gotten wise is their version of Link.
So they both know that what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, they both know something is they both know something is going to happen. Now, what version of what's going to happen, they don't know yet, because there are several versions of what could happen, but they both know that eventually, regardless of whether or not Ganondorf wins and kills the hero, eventually another hero is going to come back and he's going to lose. Because that's what happens every cycle. And so it becomes this thing that messes with their relationship, because she keeps threatening. It's like the sword of Damocles. It's hanging over his head. She keeps hanging. I know where the hero is, and don't make me call him out to deal with you if you get out of line again.
Right.
And that becomes a sticking point in their dichotomy there, because they're trying to get along in this relationship. What okay, it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler, because like at the very beginning of the story. But the whole premise of this particular timeline is, what she does is she proposes to him, let's get married or this is going to keep happening. It's like, oh, that fixes the problem. He gets the power he wants without killing people. And she doesn't have to, deal with, all of the stupidity of, being kidnapped and all this other stuff. No. We're going to do this properly in the way royalty always solves these problems, with a stable, alliance through marriage, and then, offspring, and then we make sure everything goes smoothly from there, and the kingdom doesn't dissolve into 5 wars at the same time, because that's the crap that happens every time.
Right. The only problem with that, I don't know how to go in the story. Like, I'd imagine she doesn't really like him.
Oh no, they hate each other. they absolutely hate each other, but they're trying to figure it out. And that's the interesting part of the story, is them trying to figure it out, because it's not easy. And she has an adopted daughter,
right.
And he's trying to get along with her, and it's not easy because he's like, he wants to strangle this child, and he's like the girl like pulls a prank on him, and like he is huge and like cartoonishly big, like they normally depict him. And so like his hands are this, just like, imagine Ganondorf and Wreck-It Ralph. It's like that kind of, like, he's just huge. The dude is massive. But and he he gets this prank pulled on him, and you see his hand come around this door frame, and he's like crushing the side of the door frame, and he grabs the other side and is crushing that too. And you see his head come through the door, and he's just like seething. It's like, and he's looking at Zelda, it's like, what did she do? So there's humor in this. You can tell this isn't working. There's got to be a lot of changes that are going through this for this to work, and that's exactly what has been skipped every time the old story has been going on, is proper channels, proper protocol, and the right way of doing things is not being observed.
Right. So this comic book tries to show like proper
if they actually tried to if they actually tried to make this work, what would it look like? And it's not easy. But the thing is,
pulling the notebook here.
Yeah, it's actually harder. Not harder. It's it's harder in a different way than what they're getting at in the video games, because what's going on in the video games is well, technically it's like she's, you know, basically put into the Sleeping Beauty kind of situation where she's like frozen away in a crystal, usually. And then you've got Link tearing around the entire country trying to figure out how to overthrow the king. It's like a one-man revolution. And he's helping everybody out, but it's also causing a lot of grief.
Link is?
Yeah. Because there's, you know, there's always a victim. There's always a problem. There's always a secondary pain.
So you mean like if, you know, Link's on this quest and he's trying to do the right thing, but it causes upheaval because the bad guy wants to.
Well, it causes upheaval in the bad guy's troops, because you look at it like that. That's what a lot of people depict in like all the Mario games, is that Mario is this sadistic, you know, murderer that, you know, keeps crushing all of these Goombas. It's just like, okay, yeah, it's a video game, but okay, I get what you're saying there. But, you know, you go on the other side of that with Ganondorf and, you know, all the moblins and the goblins and all this, you know, it's like, you don't know if they have families. It's like, you don't know what's going on, but, you know, behind the scenes. And so it's like, it's this humanizing the monsters and kind of empathizing with the bad guy has caused a lot of storytelling problems, because it's hard to have a bad guy anymore.
Right. And that's, I guess, yeah, it would, if that's.
But but then, as you know, just like how things have changed in real life, where you look around, it's hard to find bad guys.
Right.
You can look, and he's like, oh, well, you know, Kim Jong-il and you know, and President Xi, and it's like, oh, and Vladimir Putin, and it's just like, they're tyrannical. Okay, but they're also human beings, and from the Christian perspective, they need help. You know, regardless of how much, you know, Putin says he's some kind of Russian Orthodox or whatever. It's just like, I'm pretty sure he's just using that, but okay.
Right.
But, you know, everybody, like, that's the really hard thing about being Christian, is that it's hard to have bad guys anymore. You've got
you can see the
you know, you're
bad,
looking,
but the bad is more like,
it's a symptom.
Behaviors, right?
Yeah, and like, what, you know, like, you're hoping and praying, you know, for their soul, you know, because they're human beings, and they're, you know, I actually kind of you know, feel bad for Kim, because like, he was literally born into this bad situation. It's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? But it's like, okay, it's like, oh yes, but he's a terrible tyrant. It's like, yeah, because he has to be. He he has to be. Like, he's like, there's otherwise, like, a whole lot of other bad stuff is going to happen to him. Like, he knows what happens to tyrants. He went to school in Switzerland. It's like, he watched what happened to Saddam Hussein, and
yeah,
and shoot, I forget the guy in Libya. And anyway, but yeah, he knows what happens to tyrants. He's read history.
Why am I thinking Gaddafi? Is that
Gaddafi? Yeah, Gaddafi. Yeah, yeah, and like, just absolutely horrible things happen to tyrants, and he's born into being a tyrant. It's just like, well,
yeah, it's got to be scary.
How do I get out of this? Yeah,
right,
he's trapped. Poor guy's trapped.
Right.
But you know,
was that a recent thing?
What?
with the so Kim Jong
Un.
Un. He who died recently? Was
Well,
it?
it's not recent, but like a decade or two ago, Kim Jong Il died,
Right.
and so that's when they had to transfer power.
Right.
And so like now it's Kim Jong Un, and it's like, okay, well, you've got to take over for this person that they've pretty much divinized in the country, and it's like, oh, good luck, But there's, it in that it's gotten harder and harder to, well, at the same time it's gotten harder to demonize people, it's also gotten easier to demonize people because the internet is not nice. But with in from the Christian perspective, you're not supposed to do that to people. It's just like, you gotta love them, and it's hard. It's harder than hating them, and so that has caused a lot of problems with storytelling, because you go into Tolkien, and Tolkien has an entire race of evil beings that are just bad because they're bad. It's like the orcs and the Uruk-hai and all of this stuff, and so the goblins and trolls, and it's just like, these are just evil, and it's just like, but
Well, yeah, and I think like it's proper to look at those things as bad because they're not like human. Like you can tell that it's like the way these things manifest in, and I could be like looking too much into it, but like the way these things manifest in people, like you can have like like that's where the image of the like holy man being torn apart by like uh demons, like
yeah,
rather than him being the uh the demon, uh it's more like looked at as like an attack or
yeah,
um but yeah.
yeah. But what I'm getting at is that um in making a lot of storytelling harder, in that you have to kind of manufacture a bad guy. um it 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 has also, um it's also brought forth that defeating a bad guy has gotten more complicated. To properly defeat a bad guy.
Right.
Now, a lot of stories will take the easy out and just say kill him.
Right. Yeah, Batman.
Oh, okay, yeah, and then we're back to the Batman thing. It's like, well, I can't help him. Everybody's saying to kill him. Maybe I should kill him. Like, no. Again, you should find somebody who can help him. You have those resources. But the and that's where that's kind of spilled over into a lot of popular culture, is people keep looking into the bad guys and going, are they really bad though? Or are they just bad in context? And so you start getting these stories about the bad guy, and being very sympathetic to the bad guy, and that's where you get this comic book about the about Legend of Zelda, where it's Zelda trying to solve this cyclical problem in a way that humanizes the bad guy. But it's also harder than it's harder than any other solution has ever been, because it's not just kill the bad guy anymore. So in a way, it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of Christianized Legend of Zelda. It's just like no. You're not just killing everybody. You're trying to help.
Right. Um, yeah. No, it's Christianized it in like a different like
You're
in a different now the good is now the good is trying to make a proper relationship rather than the good being Link going out
yeah.
and trying to
It's not a conquering good. It's a conquering through self-sacrifice good. It's you're not conquering by the sword. You're you're giving of yourself,
right.
And therefore you win. It's it's the upside down. It's like Jesus won by giving himself up and dying. It's like, how does that make any sense? It's like it worked, didn't it? Yeah. Couple of decades later, well, hundreds of years. I don't know the timeline exactly. This is like suddenly Rome is entirely Christian. It's like, well, hold on. What happened? Like, he won.
Yeah. After the fact, turning the death into a glory.
Yeah. And so there's we've complicated storytelling, but at the same time we've also made it more realistic and attempted to show how to solve real world problems. Now there's a lot, like I said, a lot of stories give up on the bad guy. And like I said earlier, they don't, there's a different version of giving up. You can give up on the bad guy saying just kill him, and then you can give up on the bad guy saying do nothing for him. But if you give up properly, if there's you're giving up you trying to help him. Instead, you try to find somebody else to help him.
Right.
This is like, but
it's the humility.
Humility to know when to step back. Like my pastor keeps telling this story about how he ran a church wrong years ago. Like he kept trying to do everything, and finally he just got the word that it's just like, listen, you keep doing this, I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna let you do it. It's like, oh, okay. This is like, no, God, I want you to do it. If I do it, I'm gonna screw it up. It's like okay, that's so it's and that's what Tammy Peterson is starting to come across right now, where it's just like she's trying to step back, and like if she tries to get her hands in the mud and fix everything herself, she's realizing that it's not how it works. It's you can be too enthusiastic about stuff, and
right, which is an understandable. It's an understandable mode of like being, right.
Yeah, like, man, I really want to help right now. It's just like, open your hands, step back, breathe. Like, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've probably screwed up in a counseling session. It's like you get a call from a crying friend, and like, man, I really wanted help, and I keep trying to say, nice things, or at least things that are supposed to help, and or do the tough love thing, like no, stop talking like that, like that, like I don't know if I've helped. That's what I'm saying. This is like with all of these, the things that I'm trying to help with, I don't know if I've helped.
Right.
But
right. And I think a friend will know if if with the tough love thing, you can usually tell, like, oh, like that was tough love. Like
yeah. But yeah, with so with so it's interesting with Bowser. The tough love of that would be would be Peach turning him down and him accepting that, even though it's kind of painful. It's just like, okay, that's a tough love kind of thing. It's like, no, she's not right for you. She already has Mario, and I'm pretty sure your kids, need somebody else anyway. It's just like, even if they're, if they even are your kids. But anyway, that's a completely different story. But the tough love of dealing with Ganondorf is literally trying to live with him. It's just like, that's the problem. It's just like, how do you how do you
live with
how do you live with somebody this bombastic? Like, how do you rein that in, or get him to see what he's doing is just not working? So it's like trying to nurture. Well, here's a real world example. It's like trying to nurture an alcoholic. It's like, man, there's a lot of work that goes into that.
Right.
Like, because there's some hard, especially if they're an angry drunk. That's even harder. It's just like, there are steps here, and they're hard steps, but it can be done. But it takes a long time, and that is the number one thing with both of these stories, with all of these stories, with a lot of save the villain kind of stories. It's not suddenly he's going to turn around. This is going to take a while.
Right.
So Peterson has I feel like Peterson has been going through his try to rehabilitate the villain kind of thing. I'm not calling him a villain. I'm just saying that that's the analogy, is that there's a deep
he's trying to rehabilitate himself. And then he actually, he himself has, he's a psychologist, so maybe he is the guy to speak to that person, in which I don't know which rule, but like, clean up your house before you try and change like the
yeah. It's order your own space before you criticize the world. Yeah, basically.
Right. Yeah. And talking about like serial killers and trying to not go down that road. So he is speaking to like this will
there's and that's the overall arc of dealing with villains, is that it is what villains try to do is fast, Okay, so if you ever find yourself trying to do something very fast, take a breath.
Yeah.
What villains do is very fast. What heroes do is very slow.
Well, they are. So yeah, the heroes are like there is. It seems like with the hero, they can like they're almost moving at the pace that the problem is requiring. Um, or they do have a uh, time crunch.
There's always the time constraint within the given scenario, but the overall arc of a hero is slower. A villain is trying to gain power now. The hero built that power up. It's with like with Goku. Okay, here's exactly the analogy for this is the Cell arc. Cell is going around literally absorbing people immediately and gaining all of their power. Goku trains for years to get where he is.
Right. That's interesting. I also think I don't know how interesting or that it is that the song for the bad guys is usually very slow, like as opposed to how well I remember when I got through like when I saw Ganon's castle and saw Ganon, it's like have you just been here the whole time? What have you been doing?
Yeah, playing his pipe organ.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you're like it's like he knows where you are because you're at the bottom of the steps. You get to the top of the steps, and it's just like he's playing it faster the closer you get. It's just like, how do you know? What's up with you, man? But yeah, the it's time. Time is the difference between a hero and a villain, is what I would say. Because it's like,
and he is the hero.
There's yeah, that's true. Link is the hero of time, but I think there's a reason why psychedelics are not a good idea, because what Peterson said was like he brought up like beware unearned wisdom.
Yeah.
And what I think psychedelics do, and you can see this in someone like Russell Brand, who is very like, you see like his wisdom doesn't seem earned. Like, he's been through stuff, but there's also some stuff where it's just like, I don't understand why you're talking about this. But there's it's like when you take these mushrooms or drink this drink or take that pill and you lay down and you get that wisdom, it's like there's something that seems like a villain cheating. It's too fast. It's way too it's instant.
Right.
That's too fast.
Well, you almost it's too fast if you like I think taking the time to like meditate afterwards on it might be a like I think you can.
Oh well, I'm not talking about like I'm not talking about like take the time.
Right.
I'm talking about like, the stuff you got from that pill should have taken you 50 years.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like an extra hour a day meditating. I'm talking about like a lifetime.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like it's like a long gray if there was a pill that gave you a long gray beard, like your body would give you away. It's like, that is not a wise old man.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There is a disconnect. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something about it. Now, I will say, it probably helps some people.
Mm-hmm.
And if it helps some people, good on them. If it helped permanently. If it didn't help permanently, it was probably just a fad. If that, like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but because there's a reason why I would rather people went through the 12-step program than take mushrooms and solve their addiction problem immediately. I would rather that.
I'd have to think about that
because
it is attractive.
Because there's the different. Okay, so the difference is somebody who went through the 12-step program and got off clean, and they're strong and they know what they're about and they've got it, has the resources to potentially deal with anything in the future if it comes up. Somebody who just took a pill and they're now free and clear and they don't have any addictions anymore and all that stuff, doesn't have the resources to attempt to stop it naturally again. So
right, and you would hope they would quit. They would just quit.
Yeah, but so because there's the difference is the person who went through the 12-step program built the I'm not doing that muscle. They built that muscle. And so, if you, let's take a power lifter analogy. If you put somebody in an exosuit and they lifted up 1,000 pounds, like, great, they lifted up 1,000 pounds. Yeah, but they have to have the exosuit plugged into the wall to do that. But the power lifter did that for, 5 years and worked themselves up to that.
Right. And I think you would
he can always do that if he needs to do it in an emergency.
Yeah.
He can lift a car off of himself.
Yeah. We'll see. Like I quit smoking like 2 years ago, and I did think like at one point I was like, just give me some psychedelics. I want to be done here, and it was attractive, but I am glad when I was quitting, I got some excellent dreams out of it, so that was fun.
You had withdrawal dreams?
Yeah. It was like the one where I was scared that I was going to start again, and I had the dream that I took a drag, and then woke up like, oh my god, like, thank God, like my mind was like trying to show me what it would be, so I didn't or my mind was like, I was doing something that was
here's how disappointed in yourself you would have been if that had happened, and then you're like, wake up and you're like, oh,
right. I
didn't, like, okay, it didn't. That's a good internal warning. Yeah, that's good. There's and see, and I'm glad you went through that, because like you've built up the I'm not doing that muscle. Like, and if you had just eaten the mushroom, drank the drink, or chewed on a random cactus in the desert, you who knows like you could end up doing anything else.
Right.
And then you would have a different problem.
I'd have,
and then you'd have to
that story.
You'd have to do it again.
But yeah.
And then the other problem with those things is that they can become their own problem. It's like, well, you've just turned smoking into too much ayahuasca. It's just like, okay, it's like, oh yeah, but it doesn't have all these problems. It's like, I don't know, I've seen pretty blitzed people before. It's like,
right.
Like, I don't care what you call safe. That ain't safe. Like, I've seen people. Like, there's this one guy. Shoot, I can't remember the name of the channel. He does a lot of stuff in VR. Like, he has done like spending a week in VR, that kind of thing. It's like he's trying to get him. He's trying to figure out what this would do with or for people. What's that?
I was too long to be in VR. That's it's nuts.
Oh yeah. It's a very it's well, and then he did like spending a couple of days in a dark room without a clock, and it's like, oh okay, this guy's he's invested. But he said he had what's the non-hallucinogenic part of the of hemp? It's like they use it for painkillers. You cut that out.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember it, but he said he had actually had too much of that, which is like not supposed to happen. But it's like, and it messed with him, and he's like, I couldn't turn my brain off. I was like, I was ruined like for a while, and it's like I didn't know what to do with myself. And so what he did was he actually found a VR meditation program, and that makes you sit still, and it's got this outline and a big circle, and you have to keep that circle in the outline, and you just have to sit there and not move for an hour. It's like, and I made myself do that. It's like, and eventually, like, his calm came back because he couldn't be calm anymore because he had too much of that painkiller stuff. And it's like, it messed with him. It's like, wow, okay, so even the safe stuff is not safe in the wrong doses. It's like, so like, people say, oh yeah, this is safe and it's non-habit forming, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, I'd have too much of it. See how that works?
Right.
So yeah, it's like I'm already skeptical about a lot of medication, but I will take medication if it's recommended, but only that. Just do what's recommended, nothing else. It's like, don't go beyond your limit when it comes to medications. It's just like, keep yourself in the box. Unlimited potential in a box. Right. It's a good thing.
Yes. I'm thinking when that might be the name of the podcast is what was it? Infinity in a box, or the unlimited?
Infinity in a box.
Yeah.
Or unlimited potential. Yeah, okay. Infinity in a box is good. Yeah, infinity in a box. Take the time. That, like, don't. Villains are instant. And there's a lot of problems that come out of going too fast. And I've realized that with my book is that, yeah, a lot of the times I need to just sit down and write. really do, because I know it's up here. I know my book is up here. The rest of it's in here somewhere, and I need to just sit down and do it. But at the other end of the spectrum, if I had ground it all out in a weekend instead of taking 10 years like I have, if I ground it all out in a weekend, it would not be the same story. It would probably be awful, because I'm a much better writer now than I was. And it would be a lot less relatable, because I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah. Do you think there is something to going like that when you have that like electricity going and you're like, okay, now is the time to like put the thought like down. I try and capitalize on.
Yeah, by all means, capitalize on on
well, when you know there's something to do or
yeah, capitalize on the thought, and that that instant thought energy.
Yeah.
But finish the thought. I think your mic cut out.
Oh. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Finish your thought. That's the thing. Is once the thought is done, don't add. That's the problem. Is that with a lot of like potential energy stuff, you're built up. You're like, man, I'm raring to go. Like I can knock out like 12 chapters today. It's just like, well, you probably shouldn't do 12, especially if you don't know what you're writing. Whereas like I've got 3 good ideas. 2 of them are ready. One of them is solid. Okay, write the solid one. Then try to figure out if the ready one is ready to be solid. And then do an outline for the third one. But don't go overboard. Because I can't tell you how many times I have written something and been like, that was crap.
Right. I do think like, well, like, yeah, write the thought, don't add too much, like you want like efficiency somewhat, but yeah. And I think,
because,
well, how much do you write like your throwaway ideas? Like I just write, like some of them end up being throwaways. I'm actually pretty attached to, like, just if I have a product in my mind that I think is good, I'll usually, I mean, how much, it's like I have a hard time throwing it away, which is good because sometimes you just have a good idea and you don't need to throw it away. But like yeah.
I picked up something from Voth a while back, where what he used to do was, whenever he saw something that he would just get rid of, instead of getting rid of it, he would open up a completely different document and cut it out and put it in there.
Yeah.
Regardless of if ever he used it again. It just, because, and there's some old ideas that I should have done that for. But for the most part, I've got a whole document full of cuts. I just call it cuts. And so it's good to keep those around in case you ever think like, oh, like, it's probably over in the cuts thing. It's like, that's where that old idea went. Or I have poems in my book.
Very cool.
And so there was a time or two when I had to get rid of a poem because it was kind of in the way or something.
How many poems do you have in
make a full chapter? And so I actually I have a poem a chapter, so I've got like 50 something chapters.
Oh, wow.
Ish. Yeah. Wow. They're short chapters. So it's like it's not like, it's not like that thick of 50 chapters or anything like that. But
I just imagined you like as like wearing like with all those chapters and like full scribe, like just like scribe garb with all like your books around.
Yeah, just full monk. It's like, oh yes, hold on, I need to dip my pen in the ink again. But yeah, it's and they're not big poems either, because they're just snippets. They're thoughts, their ideas, their journal entries. So they're, but like I had to just get a couple out of the way, and so I put them in the cuts thing, and then I forgot about them, and then I was like, oh man, I went through my whole thing again because I'd been just writing and writing and writing. Well, and then I realized, hold on, some of this stuff should be chunked out into chapters. Well, now that I have chapters, like I have to put a poem on top of those. Like, shoot, I don't have that many poems. And then I'm like, oh, I've got a couple stashed away in the cuts thing. So it's like, okay, I'll just figure out which ones go where. And, I still have to get more poems. Like I have 2 or 3 that I wrote in church, but, I need more. But the cuts thing helped. And so if you've got old ideas, get a cuts document, just write it out. Or another thing is like, you can repurpose ideas that are already in a document. And so like I've done that several times where it's like this part of the story was all the way up here, and I actually dragged it down here because that actually fits a lot better. It's like, and you can change around some context there, but there's very few times at which I get rid of something entirely, but when I do, I normally cut it. So like let me tell you about the biggest one I did. They're in the middle of the book. There was an entire war that I cut out. It's gone.
Like, did you tell me about that?
I did. And so now the war is mentioned, but it's not participated in.
Oh.
Okay. So there's a lot more of a nuance going on, like in that. So it's because when I was going through that whole thing, it kept feeling like the little bit of what the war is doing isn't adding. It's just filler. And that is the number one thing I've been trying to get rid of, is filler. Because I don't like padding. And so right now, I've got like 2 or 3 sections left to write, and they're all about making sure these certain people are in the right place when the book ends. And I'm having to write that without it being filler. And that's why it's taking so long for me, because it's like, how do I do this correctly? Because I can't stand just nothing really happening outside of we're going from point A to point B because we need to be there. So I've got to fill that with a lot of character development on characters that are, one of them's brand new, and the other one is a rework of an old character that I have to completely, rethink because it was a different guy when he started. So there's a lot of molding of the particular clay statue. And re-wetting. But that's the thing, is that if I feel like if I tried to power through that, it wouldn't be the same. But in reading the book and rereading the book and spending time with these characters, I'm learning how to think about writing them. I'm not learning how to write them. I'm learning how to think about writing them. And in that, I'm learning how to writing this book, which has been, it's my number one peeve with the whole educational system, is that they don't teach you what you want to know. They teach you everything you don't need.
Right.
It's just like, just put me in the slot and make me do what you want me to do. Don't give me all this esoteric stuff. And you'll see, like, a lot of the folks that have really become artists at their craft learned it doing the job. Yeah,
for sure. There's a reading. There's the study element, and that's like I mean I think that's huge. Like I wouldn't put that off, just at all. But because I think that is important, but there is a point where it's like there is a point where you've met a level of saturation where you're like, okay, time to freaking put myself.
Yeah. And I think I understand why. I think I now understand why boys have such a hard time in school, because we reach that saturation quickly. It's just like, can I apply this somewhere?
Yeah, once we know, once we're at the saturation level of, oh, can I apply this somewhere? That's saturation enough.
Yeah, we're done.
Like
yeah,
we can maybe go a little bit past that, but it's like, all right, time to
okay, now, like, I've learned how to do the angles and the trajectory and stuff. It's like, all right, I want to use this and throw a ball.
Right.
It's like, can I, I just want to do it properly now. It's like, can I just go do it? Like, I'm sick of writing about it. I just want to go do it.
Right. Yeah. Let me put the Mentos in the soda pop real quick.
In the Coke bottle. And
right.
It's like, well, it's probably why a lot of why a lot of guys go into physics. It's just like, yeah, because physics works. It's like the rest of this stuff, it's just words.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. What? How are you? Where are you looking on time on your? What are you thinking?
It is 5:09 for me.
Okay.
And I don't know how long we've been doing this.
we hit the 3 hour. I think we
hit 3 hours. Okay.
Yeah. Freaking score. Yeah. I actually at some point. So, are you into C.S. Lewis?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I Yeah, and I read a couple of his other stuff. I just got through the Discarded Image.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but like I was listening to it on audio.
Where did you get the audio?
I think it was one of those digital library things.
Okay.
I could probably find it for you, but yeah, un, unless it was one of the PDFs I did that was text to speech. I think it might have been the PDF. Because like I can't tell anymore because everything is audio because I'm just grabbing all of my text and putting it on audio. It's so much easier. So yeah, but it's Discarded Image is hard because like I think it was a lecture series, wasn't it? Like so he was like doing a class
lectures. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like there's a whole bunch of stuff you needed to know beforehand, and I'm just not there. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think part of like the book was him trying to catch you up like in a small way, just like how he named the different like the authors and that sort of like naming, you know, how he names like
Well, he does a lot of name dropping,
right.
and you feel like, oh, you should have already read this book, and so like there's like pre-study before you read this book for it to fully sink in.
Are you part of the writers club on Bridges?
I'm part of the writers club, but I don't participate that much. Like
okay.
I've been there on and off, but I'm not. I feel like I should be there more, but I'm just not around. I need somebody to bug me. I need somebody to like, you know, bug me and say like, hey, we're meeting here. It's like we're doing a chat, and like, oh, okay, oh yeah, I'll show up.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's good doing your own thing, for sure. But yeah, there's just the writers club is doing Discarded right now.
It just Discarded. Yeah, oh yeah. And that's the thing is like audiobooks are really easy, but at the same time, you're usually doing audiobooks because you're doing something else at the same time. And with something that is as complicated as the Discarded Image, I don't think I retained it. Like I heard him, I heard the words, right. I got through the whole thing, but I was just like, man, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
But at the same time, like I do
get exposure.
I do get the gist of it because there's a lot of stuff that we don't think right when it comes to a lot of practical knowledge. We just don't think right.
Right. Do you think that has to do with like, well, like, yeah, we're not in the phenomenological perspective a lot of the.
Well, I think it's the same thing with the education. It's just we're too book learned, and it's not practical enough. We're not being taught in the field. We're not, you know, like, my gosh, walk up to somebody and say, "Do you know how to do your taxes?"
Right. Yeah. No.
I literally hire somebody else to do that. It's like,
I literally don't even know. I know you're the phrase "doing your taxes." Right now, if you ask me, I would say I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do you know how to fix your car? It's like, well, fix your car has a lot of steps to it. It's like, which part? What are you talking about? It's like, exactly.
Right. Like, we were actually talking about that, like how I forgot, it might have been in the writers club, but how like when you're riding a bike, when you're first learning to ride a bike, first the bike isn't a bike, you're learning to pedal and do a bunch of things at the same time, and then it becomes riding a bike. And at that point, the bike, once you know how to ride a bike, like once you know how to pedal and steer, then the bike becomes invisible, and it's more has to do with like what you want to, where you want to go, or what you want to
yeah.
do.
That you apply you apply force, you steer, and you direct. That's it. It's no longer okay. How many different things am I working on right now? Now I'm balancing on all this stuff. It's like you're not actively thinking anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Sherry brought that up.
It's entirely like it's become a part of your body.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and so like, and there's people out there where it's like, hey, do you know how to fix your car? Isn't a vague question to them. It's just like, yeah. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, do you know how to do your taxes? Yeah, I know that. Yeah. It's like, do you know how to take somebody's gallbladder out? Oh yeah.
Right.
It's like that's not difficult for these for certain people, and it's just like, but you get down to simple stuff, and it's like, do you know how to clean your room? It's like, you can ask me that question, and I'll tell you, not really. Like I can try, but it's going to take a long time, and I'm probably going to do it wrong. I'm bad at it. Because you say to somebody who's untidy, do you know how to clean your room? And they'll say, well, I got to get the clothes up, and I've got to move all this other stuff around. I got to put this in a box. Whereas you have a house cleaner, and it's like, do you know how to clean a room? And they're like, yeah. They don't have to go through the steps. They just know.
Right. The steps are involved, but they're like less
there's less steps in the steps. Like you don't have to say it,
sure.
where somebody who's brand new has to say every single step. Like, nah, I got this.
Right. That's literally like, oh, the difference between, oh, I'm gonna like maybe I'm gonna clean my room, or
I'm gonna work on cleaning my room, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's like there's a difference between cleaning your room and working on cleaning your room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's definitely been like in Bridges, there's definitely has been like a lot of cool conversations going. So I would like, especially I think like the weekends are usually have pretty good, like people are well, I don't know, it's a toss up, like I've tried to like figure out which days are the most busy. I think Tuesdays for some reason seem like people are like getting into the week, but like yeah, it's been
like what I've been talking about with a lot of these different aspects to what I'm looking for. It's just like I'm looking for quality over quantity. I'm not trying to talk to everybody. I just want to like have a good conversation. Like this was a good conversation. Like whenever I talk to Cherry, it's a really good conversation because she's just so fun to talk to. But so I don't have to talk to everybody at the same time in all one big group, because it's just like that just gets lost in a conversational soup. But at the same time, it's like I do want to get more involved. So because I've just been out of the loop. I just feel like I haven't been around, and it's my own fault, but like I don't it's that same thing we were talking about where it's like you've got the relative living an hour away. It's just like, yeah, but I'm right here, and I check the Discord all the time, but I'm not talking, and it's just like I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start again anymore. It's just like, well, you just got to start again. Like, yeah, but so I don't know.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the probably a lot of the same. I mean, that's I mean the Peterson stuff, like that's I think needs to be like looked at, because I think it is. I don't know. Was it in Paul's video where he called it like a watershed moment, like between?
He's at a point.
Mm.
Yeah, there's I think he said something about like there's a line that he's at. He's at the line.
Yeah.
It's just like he's not going over the line. He's not behind the line. He's
Right.
not a couple of feet away from the line.
Right.
He is there.
Yeah.
He's right there, and there is something keeping him there, keeping him at the line.
Yeah.
And that is both amazing and terrifying because it's just like, what is about to happen to this man? So we don't know. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's
regardless of the outcome, I hope he's gonna be okay.
Yeah. No, I think it'll yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
All we can do is pray for him.
Yeah.
And hope he talks to Paul, because that would be a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Unless you have one more question.
What would you expect from I don't know how much or how little contact Paul and like Peterson. I don't know. Has he said that? Like how much they've.
I think Paul had a conversation with Peterson on an Easter broadcast because because somebody gave Paul their slot on a Patreon meeting thing. So somebody had paid enough to have a one-on-one conversation with Jordan Peterson, and they gave their slot to Paul. That was the only time they ever really had a chat. So unless Paul figured out a way of contacting Jordan through either Peugeot or Vervaeke, I don't think it's going to kick off.
Yeah. I mean, I think he could. I don't know. I feel like Paul could reach out, and I feel like there's enough.
Oh, he can reach out. I just don't know if it would work.
Right.
That's why I'd say like it would most likely come through Vervaeke, because even though Peugeot recently talked to Jordan, I don't know if they're in regular contact. But that's iffy on Vervaeke's angle as well, because I don't know how often they talked before any of this anyway. So I don't know. He would have to go through somebody else, regardless of who it is what I'm thinking.
We'll see. I'm definitely I've been shooting for as far as like podcast guests. I'm trying to who do I want I think at some point I've reached out to Michaela and I've reached out to
that'd be neat.
Yeah. I'm trying to I definitely I'm trying to get heads on here, and a part of me is like, you know what, yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing that and keep trying to
Well, here's the thing about you is that it seems like your theme is kind of eclectic. Like you're like all over the place. You're like another version of Paul's channel where it's more of a randos thing. So, I don't know. I don't know if there's like an overarching theme you go for. It's like
well, like the games, I think it's mostly just things I'm interested in. I like the games. I also like doing like it's like the games conversation about
Movies and philosophical research and
movies, and then like analyzing them. I think like looking at them like psychologically is interesting, and then like sort of like, oh, what's a movie mean, well, yeah, like psychologically, what's it mean to me, the and then like religion and religious practices, and actually like religion and food, like that's something like that I want to like kind of
oh, religion, food,
bear down on. So I'm trying to trying to get like an overall um, something, but it is it is I you can call it eclectic, and that
yeah.
that would be
Here's an odd question. It just came to mind. Have you? Where are you on like Bible reading?
I know the stories. I know the
But
story.
like, are you reading anything in particular,
Um,
have you like picked it up? Or...
so the last, what was I reading? The story. What's right after? There's the David and Goliath, right?
Mhm.
What book is at whatever book is after that one? Because I just finished reading David and Goliath.
Okay, but I'm bringing this up because like you can go through each of the books on their own, but the I recently listened to the Gospel of Mark, read by David Suchet, who I don't know if you know who he is. Did you ever watch the uh, Agatha Christie series of Poirot?
No,
No.
don't
Okay,
know.
so he played.
Thank you so much for coming on, Kevin.
Yeah.
Your knowledge is always welcome, and I think people get a lot from.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can send you the link to that Legend of Zelda comic book. It's still a work in progress, but it's a really great read. It's a completely different angle on this stuff, but it's powerful.
Okay, and I'll put like your stuff in the description. Everything.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, but I'm not really using it at the moment. I used to put over my Twitch stuff onto the YouTube channel, but um I haven't been moving it over. But I do broadcast around 8 o'clock Mountain Time, um, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So
Okay.
I will get you my Twitch
Okay.
link, and you put that in the description. Yeah, but yeah, it's thanks for the shout out.
Yeah. The game stuff. I feel like people are like going to be getting more into. Like, yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. And yeah, and I'm fully up to talking about that anytime you want.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Okay.
Outro. It's like, okay, it's like, well, it's because like I don't know what you're gonna do with the intro, because that was kind of like a rambling intro. We just kind of like flowed into that one.
Yes. As the good ones do.
Yeah.